Hey, hey. Hey, hey. All right. And I'm going to mention this. Not sure about maybe those interested. About but not. So what's it for the next 30 minutes or so? We're going over some daily, I guess, what are daily board ideas. Cool. I'll just remove this big Twitch embed. I don't like it when it removes it shows the embeds. All right. Let's see. Okay, and let's see just a second. We're gonna, I guess here we'll just talk about. Let's see. We'll just do quest chat. Quest chat. How to raise raccoon. That's hilarious. Let's see. Just getting a couple things sorted out as I do this. Closing down some of the stuff don't need. All right. So today's chat. Let me see. Oh, where's my other window? Let's see the video. Okay. So I started having some thoughts about this new quest board, because originally I was a little confused, or not confused, but so in Norroth, and the point of these two ideas, one of these ideas is from another game that I worked on and another game I played for like 25 years. It's a game I'm currently the admin, owner, developer of, but it's defunct. It's a MUD, right? A multi-user dungeon. It's an all-text, like the C++ all-text version of World of Warcraft. But that had an interesting questing system in there that I'd like to go over right now. The other thing is an idea. I'm not. This isn't like. I'm not the only one to have thought of this, I'm sure. But more of a progressive system in response to the bulletin board and I guess the upcoming bounty board of just random things you can do in Norroth. I wanted a system that didn't conflict with what I wanted to do as a player during my time. Hey guys. I'll just say I'm kind of kicking myself a little bit in Norroth because it feels like or at least for me, I did a number of trade crafts that I'm not in love with, but I did it for the achievement points. But now my dailies and my upcoming guild bulletin board is based off of these activities that I didn't really want to do. It was just the only way to unlock the achievements. But now that's what Norroth is suggesting that I spend my time doing. If it was up to me, I would prefer to say I would like to do a mining task, or I would like to do, and I understand the dailies are in 4 different categories, but what I'm talking about is that crafting and that gathering. It would be nice to say, what type of thing I'd like to gather, or what type thing of what thing I'd like to type, or sorry, what thing I'd like to craft. And with the upcoming bulletin board, it's 6 random ones, and that too, I'm like, this is going to encourage me. This currently incentivizes me to do other things in the game that I don't necessarily want to do. And I'll say that it's fine that a game does that. That is the point of some of these quests and dailies, to get you to explore the unexplored corners of the game, to get you out of your comfort zone a little bit, because playing within your comfort zone is going to be the reward in itself, right? You're going to level up in the skill that you want to anyway, so they don't really need to incentivize that. But my thoughts around this, especially when I thought about, what if I get a board full of stuff that's like, leatherworking and farming, and I'm looking at this board and these quests are expiring 4.5 days from now, and none of them really get me excited. And so I thought, like, hey, can I cancel 1 or 2 and maybe have it re-roll for something? And then I thought, excuse me. And then I thought, well, what if there was a way where I could say, I want to do mining, right? Or at least something like that. And so what I wanted to start with was the description of a progressive questing system. So imagine for a second the way Norroth does, and so these next 2 ideas are things that I will actually be coding for a game of my own. I'm sharing them here and is going to post a video, so if the Norroth community and Norroth the developer wants to see it, great, because I think a progressive questing system and an autoquester are things that I know the autoquester works because I've seen hundreds of people use it, and it was pretty fun, and but the progressive questing system, I think, would provide a little bit more of a challenge than the current daily system. Or, it's not instead of, but in addition to. And so this is how it would work. The way Norroth does resources is in tiers. So, right, we have our tier 1. Oh, let's see. Oh, we're on our eraser. Right? So we have our... Did I not select the pen? We have our tier 1 resource. Right? Copper. And then after copper is iron. And then, what is it? Tin, coal, mithril. Okay. So right now, the gathering quest is, or whether these are dailies or bulletins, they're all sort of the same. It's a random shuffle, right? It's a random shuffle. Because I asked a clarifying question. If the point of the bulletin board is to use the stuff we stockpiled, does it actually use the stuff we've stockpiled? Or is it actually asking us to do more gathering to fulfill these quests? I didn't get an answer back, but it's something to think about. If the point is to use up the stuff that you have stockpiled, maybe the system should actually look in your characters or whatever. But okay, so the progressive system is this. Right now, dailies select from any one of these 5. And you get whatever 24 hours to do it. If I was a miner, what would be interesting is if I could start at tier 1 and do a quest like turn in 20 copper, and that would give me some reward. And then the moment I turn that in, it unlocks the tier 2 quest. It gives me whatever, let's say 24 hours to get 20 iron. And that would unlock another reward. And then as soon as I turn that in, it unlocks. So I'm going back to like the same quest giver, and each time I'm completing it, they're up in the ante to a more complex quest. So, or maybe basically this is going to go as high as you can. So it respects the fact that if I only want to go up, if I am a new player or if I'm a person that prefers wood cutting, even if I could go all the way up to coal and get 20 coal, I don't want to. So I'll just grab this reward at the tier 1 and be done. If you wanted to, hey, I'm going to go up and get this one and this one, and this whole tier would like reset, right? This whole quest line would reset every, whatever, 24 hours or when the quest expires. If you wanted to add some actual pressure to this, it would be something like this. Let's get a big, here, let's erase this for a second. So imagine if when you started the quest line, you had like whatever 24 hours to see how far you could go, and you had to turn in kind of like a relay race. You had to do the first leg, then you had to do the second leg, then you had to do the third leg, right? And however far you get at the end of that 24 hours, that's your reward, right? So you get something here, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, whoops, and then tier 4, and maybe that all translates to some sort of like box or keys or whatever it is. But here I get to choose what I want to do, mining, and I get to choose how much I want to do it, and it's going to reward me, and it's going to move me around the map because I can't do all 5 of these tiers at one location. And so I think that's pretty good. And I think you could do the same thing with a kill quest too, right? It's basically just a quest series that is all within all within a certain amount of time, right? Like there's like probably a bandit series or a goblin series or something like that where it's I want you to kill 10 goblins over here and then go over here and kill 10 goblins and then go over here and kill 10 goblins. And if what you want is active play, and you want people to hunker down and play for like an hour, then give them an hour's worth of focused combat or something like that. Right now we have boss fights, which depending on the boss fight takes a couple minutes to I guess a few minutes, or you're hunting around. I don't know. Sometimes the killing the 10 mobs can take what 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 5 minutes, depending on where you are, what the kill quest was. So anyway, so the progressive idea is that as you complete one, the next tier is available. And so we're not there just grinding on copper all the time, or you're not surprised out the gate by, hey, I need you to get a quality geode. It's like, oh man. All right. I guess. So I'd like to see a system that asked you to do a repeatable task, but if you were good at it, it would go on. There's a type of assessment test you can give to students. This was especially where this was in like a foreign language tests, where how complex, like, okay, so when you're trying to assess someone's foreign language, English as a second language, or in my case, I was learning another language. During the test, they're going to ask you questions. They're going to ask you questions at like 3 different levels. right? We'll do 1, 2, 3. And the conversation starts out here, and they'll ask you a question, right? And did you get it? Great. We'll ask you another question. Did you get it? Great. At this point, you would move on to a more complicated question. Great. Great. And then if you got that right, you would go down to, right? And so your final grade was basically how far you could progress. If you struggled here, your third question would be a level 1 question. And if you continue to struggle, the whole conversation, which would be maybe 5 or 6 questions, would all be at this level 1. Right? So during the test, you're not feeling this, and you're completely unable to comprehend or answer the question that's beyond your ability. This sort of conversational assessment allowed the student and the facilitator to complete the test that you would be talking with the facilitator for 10 minutes. There wasn't like no one was sitting there dumbstruck, unable to comprehend the question. Yeah, you didn't score so hot on the test if you stayed at the 1 or 2 level, but the conversation proceeded. And a questing system that recognized that would be interesting too. Right now, the daily system has you immediately anywhere in the 5 tiers. It's going to be random. Versus, hey, you know what? I think it's great that quests exist, and there's people throughout all of the it's interesting where sometimes developers make the argument to make something realistic, but then when they come up against the actual like coding complexity of such a system, then there's some other excuse for it. If El Caspar is the tier 1 city, and that there's another city for tier 2 and tier 3 and tier 4, why can't I as the player go to the particular city that I want that particular quest at? The cities are actually already set up like that. You can only exchange certain keys or maybe not keys, but chests in certain cities because they are that tier, right? So if I wanted a quest that just dealt with copper every day, why don't I just go to the El Caspar blacksmith, because that's what he specializes in, because all the mines around him are made of copper, right? And if I wanted to do something iron, why wouldn't I bump over to the second city? Why can't me as the player be a little bit in control of that narrative? And I don't think that's breaking the immersion of the game. Why is the El Caspar guy dealing anything with mithril or geodes? That seems to be outside of his market, outside of the needs of the local town guards, if right outside their gates they're dealing with aggressive bunnies, as opposed to something across the map where you have wyverns and drakes and dragons or whatever. And they're like, dude, I don't need any copper. I don't need any iron. I need mithril. I need mithril by the metric ton, right? And so it kind of makes sense. Like, I maybe get to choose which town I go to assist. And to be honest, if I'm a player and all I want to do is some tier 1 gathering, some tier 1 quests, I kind of feel like that's my choice. Like in World of Warcraft, I can go to a newbie area, and the newbie area has its own quest line. And those rewards reflect the difficulty of those quests, and it's newbie gear, and it's for like coppers and whatever. But I can do that if that's what I want to do with my time. I don't have the game saying, hey, we're going to randomly, you have to randomly do this or whatever. And so that's just a reflection on, I'm kind of feeling this. I unlocked a whole bunch of stuff. I unlocked a whole bunch of stuff for achievements, which I thought was fun, but now I'm regretting. I'm almost regretting doing it, which I think as a game developer, you never want your players to regret playing your game. I have made dailies more complicated for myself, and that's real unfortunate because guilds are dependent on my dailies. And if I was going to give advice to a new player, I would almost be like, don't earn achievements. right? Don't level your skills. Keep them at tier 1 so that anything you need to gather is right there in LCAS bar, right? And that is weird advice because I am advocating for someone not to play the game. So anyway, allowing the, like once the character has sort of moved out of LCAS bar to the tier 2 or tier 3 city, it's already in the minds of the developer and the quest writers that the quests of that town would level up as well, right? To fit what's going on in there. Have the dailies or the guild boards or whatever reflect that, right? If you get your daily task from the tier 2 city, then I know that I'm going to a tier 2 mine or tier 2 hunting or tier 2 gathering around that location rather than just random anywhere in the world based off your trade, Anyway, that's that idea. So the progressive system, I think the progressive system would be a little bit more fun. I could see myself, for example, as someone who's enjoying gathering, working my way from tier 1 to tier 2 to tier 3 to tier 4 to tier 5 within a certain amount of time, and getting some reward, right? And if it came down and said, hey, we also want you to do farming, well, I do like this and then that, because maybe I don't want to go all the way to the tier 5 city, and I would just miss out on those prizes, and that's sort of my choice. It kind of goes back to asking yourself why are folks doing certain things in the game? What is the motivation? What are we trying to do? The second form of questioning that I wanted to do was talking about a excuse me, a autoquester. And an autoquester, I played a game, and we had what was the quest master or the quest mistress, and she was an NPC. Oops, I'll switch it up. We'll do blue this time. Little NPC quest, and you could go to her every 45 minutes. Because just like with many games nowadays, especially in the browser, especially in the idle and BBG scene, we're in these games that sort of play themselves, but we're there all day because of the chat, right, for the community. And so it was very simple to log into this game and let it just sit there. The game didn't play itself, but you would just sit there maybe for chat. I mean, the game was, MUDs are the predecessors to MMOs. They are all text multi-user worlds that had game mechanics. But one of the things that was fun to keep engagement was every 45 minutes you could go to the quest mistress, and she would give you a quest, and it would be to a random let me see, it would be either a kill quest, so you would go for a mob, let me do that, a mob or an item, right? It would be a mob or an item, and it would drop somewhere random, typically within your level, so somewhere in the game within your level range, and it gave you a couple hints of where in that particular area it was. And depending on how well you knew the game, you could know, it was, exactly where it is, or you needed to go and explore a little bit. Then you would return it. You'd get quest points, which you would use in the quest store, right? So it had its own store. And this loop, it also gave you a time limit. Let's see, the quest points originally ranged from like 9 to 51, and then it also could give you a couple other things. I guess you guys would call it the equivalent of maybe like a skill point in Norroth. When I became the dev of the game, I think I set the minimum here to something like I think I set it to minimum of like 15 or 20, because nine was just, you could tell like 9 was too low. 9's the equivalent of doing 5 of these quests, and it was random. It wasn't based off the difficulty. I also set the timer. I think the timer was something like sometimes you had 9 minutes and sometimes you had 31. And again, I think I changed it so that you had like a minimum of 15 minutes. So how would this? I mean, this engaged people a whole bunch, because there were certain things in that store that you could not buy otherwise. So even if you didn't want to level your character and grind your character, you could earn the quest points, which were for items that were of a benefit at any level of your character, and that was great. This thing was accessible at the blue crayon. Use the blue crayon. This thing was accessible to players at all levels and was relevant at all levels, because the quests, at least the location and the mob that it sent you after, scaled with your character level. So if I was going to do this in Norroth, for example, I would actually drop an item the same way they do the tier fragments, the global spending tier fragments, where you drop an item. Right, the game already has a mechanic to show an item on the ground. You see it as you walk around. The global tier fragments, or the mushrooms or the rocks or whatever. Sometimes there's ore you can pick up. I would code it so that you could only, it was coded for your just for you, right? So the map would show an object just for you. I would actually also show the mob, and I guess the mob, I would do the same thing as the way they do the beholder, right? Imagine if there was a beholder somewhere on the map, but only you could see it and only you could activate it. So you would go to the quest person, and they would say something, I think something like mentioning like, hey, I have a quest for you in the desert, maybe too large of a biome, like that's a lot of space to cover. But if it could identify, hey, it's somewhere between, map 121, 122, and 123, something like that, that would narrow it down. I don't want to do like too narrow, because it's real easy with the right-click teleport to cover an entire map real quick. As part of this quest too, I would allow for home scrolls, but I would not allow for teleport scrolls. So part of the autoquester in the game that I was talking about with the autoquester, when you began your quest, we actually disabled your fast travel, your gate spell or your summon spell, your teleport spell, your portal spell, so that you had to walk from there to the destination. In this, I would say you could at least use a home scroll to get to the nearest city, but then you needed to walk from there. You would walk, you would be either looking for, the beholder, or you would be looking for an item on the ground. And they would be, just for you. And now you're not spending 10 minutes going back and forth, waiting for the mob to pop. Waiting to find, I need to find 10 of these. I'm hunting for a specific square somewhere in these 2 to 3 maps. I'm going to do one combat. So again, it's like a boss fight, but without the... It's a boss fight, but without the key. I can also scale it specific to a user. And I understand this may be beyond what Norroth can do, and so this is why this plan isn't for Norroth, but it's something that Twin can consider. You go into that beholder fight, and it's not just a tier 3 beholder. It's something that like my beholder and your beholder would be 2 different ones, because I was able to calculate something a little bit more specific to perhaps my build or my class or my strengths or something like that. So I feel like it's a challenge, and it's going to be a challenge anytime I go get that quest. I'm never going to feel that I've never like out leveled the quest, nor do I feel like I am under, like, severely. Like, sometimes if you get a quest and it's like to some boss that's like 5 levels above you, and you're like, I don't have the gear and I don't have the whatever. So at the moment you go in that portal, you could just calculate the stats. So there's not even like a, we'll take off all your armor or respec, right, and get the quest. The moment you walk into that portal, there it is. Or there's an item on the ground and you pick it up and you put it in your inventory, and then you walk back and you get your quest reward. The thing I would do though, right, because with Norroth, and especially in this other game that I'm thinking about making, active play is what we want. So why can't the user do this? If what the player wants and what active play is in Norroth is combat, why is there not something that allows for unlimited combat quests? Have this thing on like a 30-minute timer or a 15-minute timer, right? If we've accepted the fact that if people want to be active in Norroth, they're going to be fighting. So here it is. Let's sprinkle a little bit more on top. Like, right? It's like putting a rare spawn out there just for you every 30 minutes or every hour, right? And gets people coming back, right? The retention mechanic. Hey, if you're going to be online for 3 hours, you can knock out three of these. Well, maybe I actually want to knock out 6, but I don't have time to commit to 6 hours of Norroth a day, but I can log in. See, this was the other cool thing with the other game that I was saying with that 45-minute timer. Like, you didn't have to, you could just come back to the game and do the thing, do the quest. So here it is. I'm asking, this feature would ask people every hour or every couple hours or however frequently you wanted to do it, right? It's the same reason why you have a daily quest, to bring people back. If you want to do combat really well, and you want good gear and good drops and maybe some quest points and stuff like that, you would log in every hour, every couple hours, and go through this loop. And yes, sometimes it's fighting, sometimes it's not. My plans, I never got around to it because the game ended up, just kind of going defunct. But you could combine the two systems that I've gone over today. You could have a progressive autoquester, right? I mean, you've got, hey, I'm helping out El Caspar or whatever like that, right? Go do this kill quest, right? And I go and I kill the beholder and I come back, and then after whatever, half an hour or whatever, the quest is open again. It's like, hey, go kill it again, but this time it's going to move up maybe from 1 star. This one's going to be a 2 star, right? And then I'm going to do it again, and now I'm at the 3 star, and I keep going until I get defeated or run away or run out of time. And this is something I get to activate like every hour, right? So it's not something you can like intensely grind on. Like, it's 3 mobs. It's 3 mobs. It's 3 mobs with good loot, which is perhaps what the players are after, right? And maybe 1 hour is too frequent. Maybe that drops too much. But that's sort of the I think this would be fun. If you want role play, if you want story, right? Then you write a good quest for that. If you are someone that wants to play the game and wants to play it a little bit, right? Say like you want to dedicate like an hour a day to it or something like that, or half an hour a day, or when you're just on the bus or commuting. Awesome. Grab your quest, see how far you can grind, right? And then you could just stay up here. I don't know if they go any higher than the 3 star, but you could just do 3, and then the equivalent, like figure out how to add a 4th or a 5th, or just start raising the level until the point where the character dies, and then that's it, right? If you're going to be someone on all day long, right? That's why you have a bit of a timer, so you can do this quest line every 2 hours, 3 hours. something like that. Alternate between this and then the gathering quest, I guess. But yeah, I think things that promote more active play, get people to be exploring the maps. Try not to make it feel like people have to teleport all over, and the way the maps are laid out, like, you have to you got to strike a balance here between how much time of the player you're going to take. I don't want to say we're going to waste player time, but if you send someone after Mithril, we need to be honest about what we are asking the person to do. If you are saying, right, because this isn't a play to win game, but it is. If we're going to take the premium purchase off the table, you are asking someone to walk from the closest city, which is at least 10, 15 maps away. Let me actually open up the world map here before you even start mining, right? For Urg, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. You have to walk 13 maps. Let's assume that that you don't have teleport. Let's assume you have no teleport scrolls. You've taken a home scroll to Urg and then walked 13 maps before you've even started mining. I don't know what you want to hear or what you want. Yeah, I don't know what you want to hear as a game developer. That sounds like you asked someone to spend at least 15 minutes, if not 20 minutes, to get to the location, which sounds like a complete, I really hate to say waste of time, but that is a commitment for reward that the player may not feel is adequate, because you're probably basing the reward just off the mithril, not the time commitment it took to walk to that location. And they have to, right? Because if they're in a guild, this is the only way to progress a guild. And if they want to get in a guild, you should be able to show that you can do your daily tasks, right? Up until guilds, I did not really do my daily tasks, not unless they were mining or crafting of something that I already had in my inventory. But then I joined a guild, and now I had to do all four. And I'm going to be honest, like, while I was happy to contribute to the guild, I wasn't exactly thrilled of needing to do those tasks that weren't really what I wanted to do with my time. And so when you get a mithril or a quality geode quest, it's interesting. The other gathering things are just one, farming, foraging, fishing are one map from Urg, and then lumber chopping is 2, but mining is 13, right? And I can't help but feel like that's intentional, because there were so many people mining, so many people doing this, that for some reason it is so far away. Because it either was to discourage so many people from mining, or it was to capitalize on the fact that we would be spending teleport scrolls to get there because we did not want to walk. And now we are playing a pay for convenience game, right? Because if you only have an hour to play, you don't really want to spend a quarter of your time walking 13 maps. And sometime I'll actually do it. I'll do it. I'll walk from Urg to that location. I'm level 21, which is the appropriate level for that area, and I'll get stopped by mobs, and I'll have to run from combat and possibly die. But we'll just time how long it takes, because I think that's important to keep in mind, because game design is about balancing all of these systems with the perceived fun and emotional responses that we get from players. So this is why early on I was suggesting it'd be nice that if I was up to going to the tier 5 area, that was a choice I could make because I went to Urg to get the daily. If I wanted to go to Drover, then I would get the tier 3. Al Ranbu for the tier 2 and El Caspar for the tier 1. That's a choice I could make, and would feel a little bit more like I get to decide what my character does. I get to decide the story that I'm telling within this virtual world. So anyway, yeah. So anyway, these are two crafting systems that I thought I'd be putting into my game. A progressive one, a autoquester. I could probably, after talking about both of these, there's an opportunity for them essentially to be the same system and overlap. Basically, the dynamically generated quests for the players, so that if I really wanted you to explore different areas, like if this is the town that you're in, because this is what I think dailies try to do, right? If you spent all your time playing over in this area and then this area is empty. So what dailies try to do is, either we do it through analytics by actually seeing where are you spending your time and let's send you somewhere else, or it's just random, right? It's just random. Are we going up here, here, here? But the nice thing too with the Autoquester system back in the day is if you quit the quest, there was no penalty aside from waiting the 45 minutes for the next quest, which means that in any given day, I could have confidence that I was going to complete 4, 5, 6 quests. Let's see, just a second, guys. And right now, when you get that daily that you absolutely need to do, you know what would be interesting? And I'll just throw like a third idea here. It'd be interesting if you could just buy the guild token with a laurel. You could buy up to 4 per day. You could buy up to 4 per day, right? But if you didn't want to do a particular quest, and the reason why I say this is because guild progression at the moment is locked to a max of 4 per day. You have to do these 4 tasks. And it'd be interesting if you got a couple and you're like, I don't want that one, and it re-rolls to that one, and you get another one and it's like, I don't want that one, it re-rolls, right? Because again, it's to 4. And yeah, you could say like, hey, you're cherry picking 4 easier ones. And it's like, maybe. Maybe I'm picking 4 that I actually want to play. But you're not getting ahead guild-wise if you don't want to complete some of these. And if some of these quests are worth, like say for example, each laurel, say each laurel is only worth like 15. And if this quest is worth 10, and this one's worth 20, and this one's worth 25, and this one's worth 9, right? So you need what? Like, I guess what I'm trying to say is like, let's see, I'm trying to actually work the math out a little bit better for this demo. Say, for example, it was like 20, say this. I could buy my 4 laurels just based off this and not do this quest and still not lose progression. Because I would have taken, say, like maybe a slightly harder quest here. But maybe it was at least in the areas that I wanted to. Right? Or if I really just wanted really easy tasks, maybe it's like 5, 5, 5, and then I'm only buying 1 token with that. But at least I got to choose. Here's another system. This is why the progression system works real well. Or I'm gonna like an auto finish task for 100 laurels or something, maybe like 250. Oh, interesting. Interesting. Yeah, so you could just buy the completion, basically get a mulligan. If you're familiar with Magic the Gathering, this works in Magic the Gathering and Hearthstone. If you're familiar with these games, they have a mulligan feature, which, if you're not familiar with it, you draw a hand. Say, for example, you draw a hand of 7 cards. And say you don't like that hand. It's not a very good opening hand for your first few turns. You can mulligan. You can put the 7 back in the deck, shuffle it back up, and get dealt a new hand, except this new hand will only be 6. So you lose a card, which may be worth it if the 6 you draw is definitely a good hand to start with, and then fantastic. It was worth the gamble. But it was a gamble, and now you have 1 less card when you use lower probability to get a good starting hand. But you can do this again. If that 6 doesn't work, you can go down to 5. You can go down to 4, right? So imagine almost like a reverse, reverse progression system where your daily was to gather ore, right? And it's going to start up at tier 5, up at Mithril, and it's going to reward you 30 laurels for that tier 5. But you're like, I don't want to go and gather Mithril. Whatever, give me the tier 4, and it goes down to 25. Right, give me the tier 3. Let me go collect some tin for 20. Right, some iron for 10. Right, or some copper for 5. Like, let me choose. Let me take the lower amount. I don't know. I don't personally see how RNG makes things fun. Randomness does not equal fun. It just, randomness is randomness. And I think, yeah, there's definitely some psychology stuff there. Like, personally, I don't see the problem with this, because if everyone just decides to do copper, cool, fine, and then they get the small amount. That's the player's choice. And I think whenever you let the player decide something, especially in a virtual world where we are role-playing different characters and we're presented with choices, like, it feels really interesting if we're saying, and this goes for any RPG, not just Norroth, but you're saying, hey, pick any of these races, any of these classes, and then after all this customization you can do with your character, here's 4 tasks you can do. It's been predetermined. You can reset again in 24 hours. And it's like, that sucks. And I guess this is conflating a couple issues, right? Because the daily system is being used to drive guilds, when dailies should be just for retention, and like an autoquester system. If you wanted active play to drive guilds, have an autoquester that runs every half hour or every hour that rewards laurels, or you can do, gosh, I mean, here it is right here. Like, remove the dailies. Sorry, remove the guild token from the dailies. Have a quester that can give a quest every hour. Right? Oh my gosh, sorry guys. Oh man, okay. Every 1 hour. The first 4 you complete a day give you the token for the guild. After that, maybe it's just laurels. And then just let the player play as much as they fucking want. Why are we gating this stuff to 4 times a day? Especially when only one of them is actually hunting mobs. The other one's a freaking break even. It costs a key, and depending on which tier you're at, it costs the price of what, 3 of the other guild, 3 of the other two or 3 of the daily quests to even get that key. So that one's, I don't think it's a good example. But here it is. And this, I guess, would be a question I would put to people that are looking for an active game to play. If you could go into Norroth, for example, and there was a task giver every X amount of minutes, and he said, hey, go to this particular map that is not so far away that you're going to need a teleport scroll, maybe a home scroll, right, to get to a different city. Go and find this item or find this one beholder type mob, fight them, come back. Right? This is at most going to take you, 15, 20 minutes, maybe a half hour. Cool. And then you get to do it again and do it again and do it again. And it's better than grinding. I mean, that's the whole thing. Like, a dynamic quest giver is definitely more fun than just going to the open field and going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. Right? And what you want is active play. So let's not gather anything here. Not like, you get your token system. You get your guild progression. You get all your guild members out there doing at least 4 auto quests a day. And then after that, for folks that want to do some additional quests, you just give some laurels or some keys or some dice or something like that. Hell, even like in the occasional Norroth coin, so you can actually buy something from the store. Anyway, so this is definitely something I'll put into my game. Dailies have their role, but I like player choice because here's the thing. If you get this quest and you're like, I'm not walking all the way out there. No, boom. You are just delayed an hour. And then you come back an hour and get a new quest. Or maybe if you cancel a quest, maybe it's 40 minutes or something like that. But you get another quest. Throughout the day, you should feel comfortably, you should feel capable of being able to do. Yeah, I'm just saying from the amount of time I see people online, I don't think it'd be too much to say you should be able to do 3, 4, 6 of these. For those of us that are on all day, you could easily do like 12, right? And this is where the balance is, because the first 4 give the really important reward. So even, so if you're only on for a couple hours a day, this is your important reward. And for those of us that can grind a lot more, we get this second tier reward. So we're not getting too far ahead, right? It's not like a guild of really active players is getting that significantly more ahead. Anyway, so that's some ideas for like a questing system, some conversation about dailies. And again, what I love about these things is this stuff's driven by code. A lot of the stuff is dynamic, which means that I'm not waiting around for someone to write like a specific quest. These are automated. So you as the player can just play to your heart's delight, right? Yeah. Well, anyway, thank you guys for watching today. I just wanted to. I had some ideas about quests, especially around this new, the new bulletin board and its randomness versus what I would implement would be something that allows the character to say, "Hi, I'm a blacksmith interested in blacksmithing tasks. Do you have blacksmithing tasks for me? Because that is what my character does. I don't want to go pick flowers or soil lumps. I'm a freaking badass blacksmith. Let me do the blacksmithing stuff." And I think that is where, it's hard. I can't speak for other players, but for me, and I think players like me, that's the mentality that I think would be fun, where I get to determine what I'm doing and not the response of, well, you can always choose not to do it and then miss out on the guild token or whatever, right? You can either do this random thing based off any of the professions, or you can just sit on your ass. And I'm like, that's not super fun. At least to me, I guess. And this is where I'm a little bit confused. This is why I strive so much, because for the majority of my professional life, I've done a lot of stuff with analytics and data-driven behavior. And this is where I'm seeing like certain things done in the game that I wish I understood what the metrics were that were driving it. Why, like how many players and players of what status? Are these brand new players? What is their level of understanding the game? How much exposure have they had to the mechanics versus someone that's played a month versus someone that's played 3 months, right? Into understanding, you know, where the player is and why they are acting like acting like this. Like, why are we putting the bulletin board system in? How many players complained that they had items stockpiled? Because I'll be honest, the vast majority of conversations I've seen is that the daily system has actually caused people to stockpile much more than any of us did before. I went up from 2 or 3 characters to 6 in order to adequately hold all the stuff I needed for the system that was supposed to get away from hoarding. And so this is where it's like, I'm not trying to troll anyone, but I am trying to say, like, this is why I'm trying to understand why, like, what was the problem that this was the solution for? How many people actually asked for the bulletin system? It felt like most people were just saying, when he redid dailies to use the counter, oh, I was holding on to all this stuff that's useless. And to be honest, if it was me, I would have been like, so just sell the stuff now. Yeah, I'm trying to steal all the painting. So, because I feel like unless it's based off of something I can choose, like if I was going to make one big plea for the bulletin system, let me choose what I want from my inventory that I've already accumulated to get rid of, rather than asking me to get you something that is only going to fill up my inventory more. Because when you ask for mithril, what you're really asking me for is to take on 3 additional types of geodes, tin and coal. So 5 extra slots to get the one that you're asking for. And if what we're trying to achieve is less hoarding, we have done the opposite. One way to rectify this, which would be great, is when I go to gather, let me deselect the other types of ore. And this is something I'm putting in my game. If you don't want tin or copper or whatever, and you want to double down on mithril, cool. You deselect the ones you don't want, and then you get more copper. Or you get more of the one you want, because you're telling your character, ignore that type of ore. Don't waste your time or effort on it. Go for this one. Go for just the mithril, right? I think that's great. And now I'm only filling my inventory with, again, what I want. Right now, my character is filling its inventory with 6 different types of resources, and I've only been quested for 1. So if the goal is to get us to anti-hoard, it'd be interesting if we had a system that actually took a look of what we have in our inventory and had us empty it. And I understand the first response is, oh, well, people will game that. They'll just craft the simplest thing. Good. Then give the reward based off the effort. And you should be able to absolutely calculate formulaically how long, like the whole thing with like walls and other types of stuff, you know how long it takes. What is your chance to actually pull mithril out of the ground? How many actions and how many mithril does it take to make a bar, to make a whatever, an axe set or whatever, right? These are things that you can absolutely, it's a formula. So yeah. Or, and this is what I suggested a few months ago, don't this is where I'm a little bit confused why we have a whole bulletin board system. People wanted to empty their inventories and have something be worth it. Like, give us the freaking wishing well. That was the thing, right? Let me throw anything I want. See, this is where, again, player choice. The wishing well could have allowed us to throw any resource we want into it. Instead, what we got was bulletin boards, which only allow us to throw 6 different types of resources or more, right? Because there's some that ask for 2 or 3. But you see my point. Like, it's random, which means that in order to fulfill those tasks, I actually have to accumulate more than I'm getting rid of. At the end of the day here, the only way to actually clear our inventories is going to be if we finally just vendor stuff. Right? If we just sell it, which is what we can do right now. It's what we could do before the bulletin system, and it's what we had to do before guilds. Because even with guilds, I mean, I'm not going to go into that right now, but I mean, like, if I'm going to gather anything, again, it's asking for 1 tier, but I'm gathering 3 tiers at a time, 6 items. For all the copper you need, I'm also getting iron and tin and 3 geodes. These are not features that are emptying any of our inventories. They're not. They're just taking our time. Give us something that empties. Let me as the player choose out of all this stuff that I'm accumulating, because you're not giving me a choice on what to collect. You're telling me when I go to the mine, that's the one choice I get, that I get to go to a mine. And then after that point, I'm getting six types of items. 7 if you fish, because we still get that freaking clam, that level 1 item. Or the oyster, sorry. Give us a way to empty our inventories that is something more engaging than going to the vendor and just mass selling everything. That's what I was hoping for with like an upgraded wishing well. So I understand the guild, because again, an upgraded wishing well allows me to play however I want to play, do whatever in the game I want to do, whether that's combat or gathering, and I get to turn my shit into the wishing well for maybe some fragments or dice or keys. Instead, what we got is guilds, or not guilds, but the bulletin board. So it doesn't address the problem that I foresee. It's not the solution that I thought is for the problem that the developer was expressing. So anyway, I'm just saying it's still out there. There's still the problem of I need 6 characters to hold all this stuff, and it's only going to get worse as we go up in tiers. So anyway, that's my thoughts. I got to get going. Thank you all for watching the stream. I'm going to do a little bit. I'm going to start coding these systems that I talked about right here. I'll start coding that later tonight. So, yeah. Everyone have a fantastic day. Thank you so much.